Hello and welcome back to everyone that's tuned into our channel, American Ultra Stock. Here we are again. First of all, before we start the video, we just want to thank all of you guys that are new to the channel, that have been tuning in. Braden and I are doing our best to bring consistency to the channel and be pumping out some videos that hopefully you guys enjoy. If you're new to the channel, this is a segment that we do on a weekly basis. It's the Stock Watch. Without any further prolonging, Braden, straight to the point. Over the weekend, who are the players that caught your eye or not? Who's the first one that you give a stock up and you think that did well to increase their stocks in terms of USMNT?
I think the first one's a no-brainer. Brandon Vasquez. His move to Monterrey was putting him out of the USMNT picture, I think, for a lot of people, and rightly so. But he has started absolutely on fire in Liga MX, scoring a brace in their most recent game and a goal as well in his first official start. So 3 goals in only, I think, 186 minutes so far into Liga MX. He looks like already one of the best strikers, if not players, in the entire league, which is on par with MLS. And honestly, considering he had a slightly underwhelming season with FC Cincy last year, I think it's been a huge start for him. And honestly, I don't know if it's going to put him into the USMNT radar, but a lot of our strikers are coming back from injury right now. Haji Wright, Jordan Pefok, Daryl DK, and Josh Sargent. So if we do need a third striker, Vasquez is in the consideration considering his form. And we've seen a willingness to call up Liga MX players. We've seen Zendejas with the team. And honestly, Vasquez is playing better than Zendejas is. So honestly, I think he could be warranting a call up, especially if Haji Wright is going to play as a winger. So I think that's one to keep an eye on. He's been very, very good. And look out for Monterrey, especially in Leagues Cup and in CCL when they play against MLS teams. I think that's going to be a very interesting one to watch.
Yeah, definitely. I was very impressed, and I can't help but just be a little bit sad when I see him scoring in the goals. It makes me wonder how would he do in Europe, because I feel like maybe just to defend him a little bit, maybe he had an underwhelming season with Cincinnati because he didn't get the move to Europe, and it was known that he wanted the move. And now that it's a fresh new start, it seems that he's really happy there. And honestly, the guy was born to do headers. The best header we probably have. But without further ado, my first pick is also going to be an attacker. It's going to be Emmanuel Sabbi. Who would have thought that at this moment, Sabbi, who made such a huge jump up to the French League on with his background in the leagues that he used to play in, no one ever thought that, first of all, Le Havre would be in such a good spot. I think that they have, even for the most optimistic, I think, well, you were there, I'll give you props, Raiden, but even the most optimistic might have thought that this was maybe a long shot for how well they're doing. And he's been an integral part for it, honestly. He has scored in 3 wins overall, 4 goals, scored it's a penalty, but you got to put him away. And he has done so. He has earned the trust for the team to take the penalties. And I think that he's doing so well, really. As a player, really, you look at the work rate. If you have the opportunity to watch the extended highlights on Daily Motion, I'm just going to leave it out there. There is the chance for you to watch extended highlights. Sabbi works so well off the ball, really. He's a very hard worker, a lot of pace, and you can tell that he's confident. So I have to pick him because, again, I think that our wing depth is very low, and he may be in the fringes really for a call-up. He can play anywhere. He's a very versatile player as well, works really hard. Greg likes players that have that sort of profile. So honestly, I'll have to give him props. 4 goals for Sabbi in the Ligue 1. But now on a sour note, who's the first one that got to stock down and did not impress you, Braden?
Yeah, and for Sabbi, especially in a team like Le Havre, who are very defensive, he's really one of the only attackers they can trust right now, him and Ayew. And to see him step up and take penalties already so short into his tenure with the club, I think is a really good sign, and it's very encouraging for his form. But onto a more negative note, my first stock down is going to be a bit of an unfortunate one, Reggie Cannon. He's been playing pretty well for QPR this season, despite their struggles. They're in the relegation zone, but he did get injured shortly into their game this weekend against Huddersfield Town. Just really unlucky, honestly, especially since for the March camp, I know we've mentioned it in the past, Greg could be looking for a replacement for Serginho Dest because he is suspended for the first game against Jamaica, which who knows if we're even going to win that one. So we could need a new right back for that camp. He's been looking at Shaq Moore and Daewon Jones in the January camp. I think Reggie Cannon's a better option than both of them, but due to the injury, it looks like he might be out for an extended period of time. It remains to be seen how serious the injury is, but it's really unfortunate because he's finally back into form with a new club. Although I will say he did criticize Berhalter and the team as a whole. So maybe he's out of the picture for the USMNT, at least while Greg's still there. But I think he's a player that would have done come in handy a lot. And he's a similar player to Scally, I think, because he also plays in a back three as a right center back, which Scally's been doing a lot this season. So if you want a backup to Joe Scally for that game, I think Cannon's the perfect fit. But due to the injury, it might not be possible.
Yeah, it is very unfortunate. As you touched upon, I think that, oh, first of all, he's a hero. Reggie Cannon gets a stock up for the season just for his statements alone. But I think that if, honestly, Jones and Shaq Moore getting called up, he's deserving of a call up. But that is very unfortunate. It is very unfortunate for the next player that I'm going to say that is my first stock down, that he's in the public eye now. He was hyped up so much. It's Cade Cowell. The guy was, let's be honest, he went from almost not a non-animosity, but he was barely really with any attention on him. He wasn't the focal center of a flashy team. The Earthquakes, they're pretty meh. But he went to Chivas as such a huge sign. You look at their social media, it looks like they signed Messi or something. And they hyped him up, and everyone was asking for pictures. And now he's in the public eye. And so many people rate him so highly, which makes me wonder why. And now you just look at the highlights, anything that Cade Cowell has done. If you try to find, some people said it's been up and down, but I struggle to see the up because his finishing is as atrocious as ever. I think that he's just an athlete, really, and he's even finding it really difficult, not for space. I don't think there's much of a difference there, but finding it difficult to explore his athleticism with the role that he's having with Chivas so far. So I have to say, stock down. He's gonna get exposed, and I hope that I'm wrong and he develops there. He has the opportunity to. Still, is really young, but really, people start catching on to it. It has to be a stock down. But who's the next one that got a stock up from you, Braden, and you think that did well?
Real quickly, I think you know that I'm the number one Cade Cowell hater on planet Earth, but I will defend him quickly here. I think the reason Chivas fans are so hyped about him is because he does have the American athleticism that is very untraditional for a Mexican player. Honestly, they're a lot more focused on technical quality and less about the physicality side. I know that I'm not saying that Liga MX isn't physical at all. It's a very physical league, but I think Cowell's already one of the most physical players in that team. And he is an exciting player to watch, very frustrating player to watch, but he is exciting because he always takes on defenders and he's always looking for goal, even though his shots usually end up out of the stadium. But yeah, I think he is going to be exposed, and I think it's funny how he has the new blonde haircut, acting like a big shot after his big money move. But honestly, I will admit I am watching Chivas games now just for him, so I'll give him props to that. I'm very interested to see how he does, but yeah, it's not the greatest of starts. But on a more positive note, my second stock up is going to be Gabriel Slonina, a player who we've both been very critical of this season. He's had a poor start to life in Eupen on this loan, but the last two games have been pretty good. 2 straight clean sheets back to back. The most recent one against the current champions of Belgium, Royal Antwerp, former club of Sam Vines. So justice for Vines there on the win for Slonina, but is honestly very encouraging for him. Still a 19-year-old keeper playing at such a high level is honestly unheard of, and it's a really promising thing for his future. I've seen some people saying that he should even be considered for a start in March over Turner, considering Turner's form. I think that's a little premature. If you guys didn't see our top 10 goalkeepers list already, make sure to give that a watch because we have some interesting takes on Slonina and where he stands in our depth chart. But if he can keep up this form and then go on to a bigger loan move next year, I don't think he'll be ready for Chelsea. But if he can get a bigger loan, maybe to the Championship or a better team in Belgium or just a team that's more competitive in general, because Eupen aren't very competitive, to be honest, outside of the last couple of games. But I think it's a very, very good sign for his development and his future. And he's well in the mix to be our number one for years to come.
Yeah, I think we can look at it in a way that if he has mistakes in him, this is the time to make them, and it's so encouraging against the opposition that he got this clean sheet. Props to him. Props to him. I'll be honest, I didn't really watch the highlights, but I saw that he made some, I think, 3 saves. That it's impressive as a whole that they managed to command a clean sheet against Antwerp. So props to him, definitely. Things are looking up. Definitely changing the trend. The next player that I'm picking up has completely changed the trend because I used to be one of the biggest critics of this guy, but Gianluca Buzio. How can I, as a Venezia fan, not pick Gianluca Buzio for a stock up here again? Now it's 5 goals, granted 3 in a row in 3 different matches. He scored, I think, one of the most difficult goals. And if you try to look it up, you won't be able to see it. I won't be able to see it. I don't know how he saw it because the fog was insane. The commentators couldn't narrate the game, and he managed to score a goal. It clinched a win for Venezia, crucial win. Now right back up to the top. Now playing against Cremonese, the second place. And next week, not at the top, but Venezia is back in the mix there with the top teams, and I think we should get promotion. But Buzio has been an integral part for it, and I think that especially the chemistry. If you want to go by app ratings, again, this is another match that him and Tasman are the highest rated players. That chemistry for both of them. I'm not saying the 18, but for the Olympics, which they have both been called up, and Tasman has captain, just like he is the captain for Venezia as a vice captain. I think it's integral, and Buzio is a huge part of why Venezia is having this run, and he really has shown so much awareness. Really, as a player, he has so much more urgency now, and he's confident. I can tell that he's confident now, and very quick thinking, which is something that I used to be very critical of. And he's fast. Who could have thought last season, if you watched Buzio, that he can run and be a fast player? So props to him. I have to pick a stop up. 5 goals and 2 assists now. Both him and Tasman, 7 goal contributions each. So I'm really happy about that. Now, who's the next player that you pick, Braden?
Yeah, Busio and Tessman have actually both captained the Olympic team this cycle, so it's going to be a very good midfield pairing for Venezia and for the Olympics, and maybe a potential look at the first team as well in the coming years. It's a pretty stacked position, one of our best, but who knows, if they can keep playing at this level in hopefully Serie A next season with or without Venezia, I think there's definitely a real possibility. And honestly, Busio is becoming a weekly pick here for stock up, and my next stock down is becoming a weekly pick for stock down. It's going to be Cameron Carter-Vickers. This time it's no fault of his own performances. He was pretty decent in the game against Ross County, kept a clean sheet against horrible opposition as always, but he can only do so much. But that's part of what I have the issue with this time. He signed an extension until 2029, and I have said in the past, I want players to maybe stick around at these level of clubs, cement their status as a club legend, because we don't really have very many American club legends in Europe. But I think for his particular situation, it's better for him to leave. Celtic are a massive club, but the league they're playing in is frankly abysmal. And outside of a few Champions League games a year where they get embarrassed, honestly, and every time they play Rangers, all the other games are a horrible level, and they're not a level that a USMNT center back should be playing at. I'm not saying drop CCV or anything. I think he's still in the mix, but it's one of the weakest center back pools we've had, and I think it's a concern because the spot is there for the taking if he wants it. He could have gone to a Premier League club. There was interest. Would he have done well there? I'm not so sure, but at least challenge yourself and don't get too used to the norm, because at this point, honestly, he's becoming like Miles Robinson, but I would argue it's worse. People will sugarcoat it because it's in Europe, but the fact of the matter is MLS, outside of Celtic and Rangers, is so much better than the Scottish League. So honestly, Miles Robinson is playing at a higher level this season, or will be once the season starts for MLS, than CCV is. So people want to hate on Miles. Let's give a little bit of criticism towards CCV as well.
That's perfectly fair, because I think that I'm okay with a player like Sands going to the Scottish Premiership because it gets you through the door to Europe. It enables you to be in the eye and be in the transfer market there for a further move. But if he's renewing the contract, it shows the ambition. And I agree with you, completely agree. Miles is going to be playing at a higher level, even though we should all be frustrated at Miles as well for that choice. But yeah, need to match the energy there, because people sugarcoat him just because it's Europe. You couldn't have said it any better. I completely agree. Now, I'm really sad to pick this next player because last season, well, he was almost a Man United signing. Taylor Booth. Yeah, that's why the rumors are insane. We need to calm down on those, because if you look at it this season, I'm happy that he's starting to get starts again after that injury, after he's rebalancing, but he didn't look good at all. I think that he's looking very passive, which is something that I think that throughout his career, Booth has been really good, is being direct and trying something. And he's a flashy player. He's silky with his left foot, but he's been looking just sideways, and so weak. People talk about Brendan Harrison. They would try to watch Taylor Booth on the highlights. The guy gets pushed off way more easy, and he doesn't really have way easier. And he doesn't have the work rate that Brendan Harrison has. But anyways, I think that he's struggling because he's not really a winger, and I think it's catching up to him. He's not really a winger. He doesn't have the pace to be a winger, the explosiveness for the 10 yards. To really sprint. as fast as you should have if you want to be a top level winger. And he's just, in my opinion, just suits better as a box to box or as a cam. And I think that it's really catching up to him. Last season, he was almost a cult hero there at Utrecht, and this season he's really struggling, constantly, in my opinion, being one of the worst players on the pitch, which is really sad. I was really high on Boots, and I think that he's one guy that definitely needs to move in the summer, but that's talk for another video. Now, who's the other guy that gets to stock up on a brighter note, Brad?
When your brother, who is in his first professional season, is outperforming you frequently in the same league on a much worse team, it says a lot about how poor of a season it's been for Taylor Booth. And props to Zach Booth as well. He's been having a pretty decent season for Volendam in his first professional season. But the fallback to Booth this season has been huge for Utrecht, both the injury and his poor performances. They finished 7th last season. They're currently 13th and in the relegation battle, honestly. And I think a lot of that is due to Booth's poor performances. Last year, he was one of their best players. And I've always said this. I've seen him as a center mid since day one. I don't know why he's been playing on the wing for Utrecht and for the USMNT. I think for the US, it's mainly just because of our lack of depth. But really, he's best as center mid. And I think he has a better chance of making the roster, honestly, as a center mid, because he just excels so much more there. And that's why he was getting those links to big clubs, even though they were completely untrue. But my next stock up, my final one, is going to be Kevin Paredes, a player who hasn't been on this stock watch in a very long time. He finally scored his second goal of the season after getting a start after a lot of appearances off the bench, a couple minor injuries as well that was keeping him out of the squad. But he's back, and he really made the most of his opportunity, scoring a goal for Wolfsburg, and I think being their best player on the pitch in that game, and it should warrant more starts. He's one of those players who always performs well with limited minutes, kind of like Ricardo Pepi's been doing, like Gio Reyna last season. And hopefully, unlike Reyna and Pepe, it leads to more minutes and more consistent game time, because I think he is a player who is very exciting and can really help Wolfsburg in kind of a meh season for them. I think he can really make that spot his own if he just keeps getting the chances. And he's another player. He was pretty underwhelming when he did get the USMNT call-up, but he's still so young, and I think he's still in the mix and deserves to keep being fighting for that spot. Would be great at the Olympics as well.
Absolutely, and I think that it's so. I really appreciate his mentality. You see by the celebration, by the goal as well, the way that he scored it, the eagerness to show something. I think that's something that really held him back in the camp for the USMNT. We saw he was trying too much, but it's nice that he scored a goal. And like you said, it's a mess season, so why not develop the talent that you have and give him more runouts? That's what I would do. But it's nice. This is going to definitely warrant him at least the trust of fans. So I'm really happy about that. And the next player that I'm picking, it's also in Germany. It's Max Dietz. And what a season he's having. They're in second place. And again, so impressive. If you look at the stats, if you look at the limited content that we have out there to judge his performances with highlights, always looking really commanding. And again, he is Olympic eligible, and he's a center back. We don't know which players will be released by their clubs for the Olympics. And again, this is a guy that needs to get a run out with the Olympic national team, in my opinion, because we are really short in that age group. I think that Craig is the next best player. He doesn't really get many minutes. And let's face it, Jalen Neal, Winder is too young. So it really is up for grabs there. I think that Dietz is, if he gets promoted, not only if he gets promoted, he's playing well for the second best team, who let's say can arguably go toe-to-toe with low-level Bundesliga clubs. You never know if they have a good transfer window. But fact is, he's earning a promotion to the Bundesliga so far, and he's been starting for them. Groger Futh, I really hope that they do well. Butcher the name right there, but congrats to him, and I'm really happy that we have a center back in Europe challenging himself at a young age and starting constantly. This is really impressive, really. And yeah, he's my final pick, but we have to finish it with the stocks down. Who's the last one that you have to pick, Brayden?
Dietz is far and away our best Olympic center back, and I think as of right now, he is the only young player who I can confidently say is going to have a good future with the USMNT. Honestly, he's such a good player. He should be, after the Olympics, in the considerations for 2026 if he keeps up this level. But ending it with my last stock down, it's going to be Malik Tillman. Going back into last week, PSV finally dropped their first points to Utrecht and Taylor Booth, who actually had a pretty good game that week somehow. Dropping the points 1-1, and it had just all gone downhill. In that game, Tillman got very tired towards the end of it. He was losing the ball a lot, and we saw him subbed off with a minor injury against Feyenoord in the cup that PSV also ended up losing. A bit of a bad run of form for them. At halftime, he was subbed off, and as a result of that, he missed out completely on the squad for their game against Almere City. So again, it's not truly due to his performances. I think just a little bit of fatigue and caused the injury, but he does have to get his stock down now, especially that his competition for the 10 position, which is probably our most stacked position if you're going to look at the depth. Gio Reyna is finally looking to get a transfer, and if he does get consistent playing time, he'll definitely be a lock for the starting spot, as he should be. And Tillman this season has been having a very good year. He's even been in considerations to start for the USMNT. He started with Reyna back in the game against Trinidad and Tobago, the first leg. I think at times he's looked like he's a better player this season, but now that Reyna's looking to get consistent minutes and Tillman's a bit on the decline in the past couple of games, it's fully Gio Reyna's spot now. So Tillman has to get a little bit of a stock down for me.
That's fair. That's fair. Now, my last player was stock down, and very unfortunate, really. I'm gonna have to pick Balogun because he got injured, and it's due to his club form mostly. I think that Monaco has been a little bit underwhelming. Lille's picking up some steam. They have been on. I know they just got a draw, but they have been doing really well. If you compare both clubs, I don't really trust Monaco to hold on to that UCL spot, even the preliminary, by the end of the season. So I think that's really underwhelming. I think that even Balogun would have expected for them to be in that competition next year. That's where we want our best players to be. And he wasn't really doing too well. We saw the manager criticize him a couple of weeks ago, and then he gets the injury with his shoulder, and that does hurt, obviously. Now having to regain fitness, even though it's just a couple of weeks, regain fitness, regain the trust of the manager. The club's in a little bit of a turmoil, so I think it's really sad. It's a good sign that I'm picking a player that didn't really have a bad performance. I think we had a very, very solid weekend. And talking about that, looking forward to the next week. Which are the players that you are naming? One of the mainstream ones, and one of the players that are perhaps under the radar, Brandon, that you'll be watching for the next stopwatch.
We've kind of been on a roll with these picks lately. I picked Pukstas last week, and he scored, although he knew absolutely nothing about it. A header from Livaja that just bounced off of him and went in, but a goal's a goal. Some of our players aren't scoring, so we'll take it. And Shane McLaughlin as well actually had a pretty good performance against Man United. If you look at FOTMob, Newport County's third highest rated player, first out of the players who didn't score. So props to him as well on a good performance against very high level opposition. But for this week, my main player to watch is going to be Matt Turner. He has his revenge game against Arsenal on Tuesday, which should be a very intriguing one to watch, assuming he does start over Vlachodimos. I think he will, considering he's been the starter for the last several games, and he's been doing all right, not good, but not really too bad either. So he should start that game. Also plays against Bournemouth on Sunday, so crucial doubleheader this week for Matt Turner and Nottingham Forest, who are still in the relegation battle. Honestly, they're getting bailed out by some of the newly promoted teams being so bad, but if they do get the point deduction, they could be in trouble. So these two games are going to be very important for them, especially since Arsenal are on a bad run of form recently. And another reason, honestly, is he's one to watch in the transfer window. I'm not sure if he would get a permanent move so soon after signing for Forest, but there has been a lot of rumors. Fabrizio Romano tweeted several times that Nottingham Forest are looking for a new goalkeeper. Peter Gulakshi from RB Leipzig has been their main target, but they are looking at other options now. And it just shows a lack of confidence in Turner and Vlachodimos. And we mentioned it in the goalkeepers video as well. There is a slight possibility Turner isn't even registered for the second half of the season if they were to sign a new keeper, just since the ownership is Greek and they'd have a little bit of bias towards Vlachodimos. But I don't think that will happen, but it is a slight possibility that we have to monitor. So if the Forest do sign a new goalkeeper, he's definitely going to be one to watch in the transfer window, maybe a last-minute load to a high-level championship side. And then for my sleeper pick, it's going to be a dynamic duo, Terrence Boyd and Jalen Hawkins from Waldorf Mannheim in the third Bundesliga. They had a huge win over their relegation rivals, Hallescher. Boyd scored 2 goals. Hawkins had a goal and assist off the bench. And honestly, I think this weekend's going to be crucial for them in good form against a Munster team that's been decent, but not too great. And they could get out of the relegation zone with the win. Boyd just signed for them, and he's already hit the ground running. Hawkins, a very young player as well. I believe he came up through one of the MLS academies. I can't remember which one. It might have been Atlanta. But both players who are worthy of consideration just to watch. I don't think they'll ever be USMNT players, but you never know. Hawkins is still pretty young. So there's always a chance. And I think they're both in good form. Another USA duo to watch that's under the radar.
Yeah, you really never know. And I'm picking for those are really good picks as well. And Boyd has such a sick celebration, man. I hope that he scores again. My picks to watch, I mentioned him. I'm kind of cheating right here, but I have to pick Deeks as my under the radar player because he's playing St. Pauli. They're the first place team. I think that if Burger Proof manages to do well in that team, in that game, and Deeks is going to have to play it well. They're playing the favorites really to go up, the team that has been the most dominant in the season. And it would do them a lot of confidence as well as to really propel them into getting the promotion that I think that they deserve. And I hope that Dietz gets it into part of it. I'll be definitely watching that game. It's not that hard to watch the second Bundesliga, really, even with free streams. You see them, legal free streams, by the way. It's not that hard, really. Some of the clubs, they always posted on match day. So we'll tune into that if you can. And my main player to watch, I've come to terms that Johnny is doing really well. I've been a little bit critical, a little bit, it's very kind to say, towards Johnny in the past. But hey, he's doing really well. And playing against Getafe should be a winnable game. I think now he's really acclimating. It's nice that he got the trust as soon as he could. He started. And I saw some rumors. It's not really available in English, but in Portuguese, that Betis is already looking to register him for next year. Again, he's a Betis player. He's going to be there next year. That's obvious, but Betis has a bit of financial troubles. But the fact that after 2 matches and really being there for 3 weeks, they're already looking to lock him to be one of the players to register next year and get the financial statements to show that they can definitely afford his wages. And even with the summer transfer window, it shows that he's been doing really well. For a European club to, let's face it, they probably look at him as Brazilian, but they see a young player just slotting in right away, playing for them and just well enough to make them prioritize him for the summer and for the future of the club. I think it's a great sign, and I hope that you never know what if he scores a good goal. I think that Johnny is amazing with headers, so you never really know. Getafe have conceded quite a lot of headers as well, so might as well see Johnny scoring. So I'm picking them. I'll definitely watch both of those games. And before we leave, again, I just want to say a huge thank you to all of the new subscribers. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, share it with your friends if you can, and comment down below the players that impressed you the most and that you'll be tuning in to watch during the rest of the week. And we'll see you next time.